The name of this holy season comes from an Anglo-Saxon word meaning spring. But when and how did the celebration of Lent begin? We do not know when the first celebration of Lent took place. However, there are early writings that indicate Lent was set aside as a holy time in the early church. St. Leo the Great referred to Lent as a time to purify the spirit and rejoice in the forgiveness of sins, both for those experiencing baptism for the first time and for those already part of the church. St. Leo also mentions the practice of fasting in connection with Lent, as does 2nd century church father Irenaeus. By the 3rd century, church leaders were seeking uniformity in their worship practices, and so they convened at the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. The council decreed that Christians should celebrate Easter on the same Sunday in all churches, and that the date of Easter would be determined by the astronomical calendar and communicated to churches worldwide. The word used for Lent in the council's writings means 40th, which is appropriate as 40 is a significant number in the scriptures. During the Great Flood, it rained for 40 days and nights. Moses spent 40 days and nights on Mount Sinai and led his people through the wilderness for 40 years. The prophet Jonah foretold that an unrepentant city of Nineveh would be destroyed in 40 days, and the prophet Elijah journeyed for 40 days to Mount Horeb, where God spoke to him in a still, small voice. In the life of Christ, we find that Jesus endured 40 days in the wilderness through prayer and fasting, and that after the resurrection, Jesus spent 40 days with his disciples before his ascension. Though the word used for Lent refers to 40, the period from Ash Wednesday to Easter Sunday actually numbers 47 days. Because Sundays are feast days set apart for worship, they are not included in the numbering of the days of Lent. For many Christians, Lent is a time of penance, fasting, prayer, and sacrificial giving. For those times when these spiritual practices are difficult, remember the words of author and motivational speaker Stephen Covey, who said, "It's easier to say no when there is a deeper yes within." Keep your observance of Lent as a time of saying yes. Yes to the stirring of the Holy Spirit, yes to the forgiveness of sin and to a time of fresh beginnings, and most of all, yes to the abundant life found in the risen Lord.